For the first 20 years of my life, I would do anything to make a man love me. That can happen when daddies leave their daughters before they're born. I had this hole inside, this emptiness, this need to be loved and accepted, worth something, anything. I was so desperate to learn how to be lovable, and lucky for me, I had lots of willing teachers. When I was 6 years old, my cousin started to teach me about blowjobs. He told me to lick it like a popsicle and it would taste like lemonade. When I was 12, my mom's boyfriend taught me about hand jobs and the inherent power of my budding breasts, how they could make a man do things, illegal, immoral, dehumanizing things, and how no matter how much you cried or begged him to stop, he just had to have some of that sweetness. When I was 15, my neighbor took my flower when he raped me over the stick shift of his Datsun B210. He told me I was special, that I would always remember him because he was my first. A few months after that, my 38-year-old teacher taught me about vodka and cocaine. And no matter how much a grown-up promised to love you and protect you, they don't always mean it. When I was 16, my 24-year-old boyfriend used me as his punching bag. He taught me about the intoxicating cocktail of Jack Daniels and obsessive love. A man that had to own you really loves you. With all of these fabulous teachers, I learned so many good lessons. I learned how to flip a switch and how to leave, how to just shut down completely. I learned that I was best suited to be a pincushion for men's desires. Now, every once in a while, a really nice guy would come along, the kind that would just fuck me up, confuse everything. I love you so much, Erika, they'd say. I need you. I want you to be mine forever. But I knew that a girl whose own father couldn't love her didn't deserve love from anyone else. I knew that eventually they would see what I was. Broken bits of girl parts held together with glitter glue. So I would cure them of their romantic delusions, and I'd fuck their brother or their best friend. Love me now? So while other girls were playing with pom-poms and dolls, I was stroking male egos and cocks for my supper. I got high a lot. I couldn't silence the voices in my head. Erika, you're a piece of shit. You're nothing. Just kill yourself. You're a worthless whore. And I would get loaded a lot. And I just couldn't shut down the voices. And so when I was 17, I ended up in rehab. And it was there and in 12-step meetings, they taught me that I was powerless, that I could be restored to sanity, and that I needed to turn my will and my life, my thoughts and my actions, over to the care of a higher power. So I did the drugs and alcohol part. I was willing to stay sober, but I held on to self-loathing, dishonesty, and seeking validation from men. So now it's 1989. It's like, oh my God, it's Los Angeles. I'm 19 years old, and I'm a year and a half sober. And I'm in a late-night meeting in West Hollywood, and I look across the room, and I see Jed. He's 30 years old. He's a cab driver / actor. He looks like James Dean. He's neurotic like Woody Allen, and he smoked ganja like Snoop Dogg. But I loved his potential. He was a mess, though. But he would drive cab at night in Hollywood, and I would ride shotgun with him, and we would wear matching black bomber leather jackets. And he would sit in the driver's seat while we would drive around junkies and pimps and hookers and Ron Jeremy, and it was crazy. Through the seedy underbelly of L.A., and he'd sit in the driver's seat smoking joints, and he's like, Erika, I got to get off the weed. I'm missing all these opportunities. And I'd sit in the passenger seat smoking reds, dream about our life together. So things weren't moving quickly enough. So one day I decided to further things along, and I complained to him that I didn't have enough money to pay my rent, figuring, of course, that he would ask me to move in with him. Instead, he suggested that I get a job at Club Paradise. Now, it's not stripping, he said. It's dime a dance girl, taxi dancing, and you get paid to just talk and dance with guys. Keep all your clothes on. Sounds good, right? So since I was madly in fantasy with him, I figured it must be a good idea, and I went there the next day. Now, this is in the bowels of downtown Los Angeles, and even in daytime, I am terrified to get out of my car. I pretended to be tough, but inside, I was a little marshmallow. But I closed my eyes, secure in the faith that Jed would not lead me down a wrong road. I get out of my car, I walk across the parking lot, through the stench of urine, upstairs into the club. Now, by day, it looked harmless. There was a big pool table, a bunch of video games, And to the right is this long counter, and there's this really harsh-looking Russian woman behind the counter. She's got big 80s helmet hair. Some of you remember. And she's taken her makeup tips from Tammy Faye Baker. She's got blue eyeshadow from the base of her lashes all the way up to her eyebrows. She's got flamingo pink sparkling blush and matching lipstick, and then her eyelashes look like two tarantulas fighting to the death, right? So I walk in and she goes, "You want a job?" Uh-huh. So she takes me back to the manager's office. They give me some paperwork, really easy. They explain the rules. No foul language, no drugs, and don't do anything you wouldn't do in front of your grandmother. Shifts are from 6 p.m. to midnight, 7 nights a week. You have to work at least 2. You get a commission based on how many minutes you're checked out. Men pay 35 cents a minute plus tip to dance or talk to you. You can say no at any time, but you cannot leave during the middle of a shift, and I'm time card number 42. So when a man comes up to me, take my time card, give it to Jackie. All right. So I go home, and I'm getting ready for work that night, and I'm thinking, Pat Benatar. So I get my black cotton mini dress on, lots of arm bangles, lots of big 80s hair, lots of makeup, 5-inch heels. And I'm imagining that if a customer gets out of line, we're going to like break into a shimmy dance. Love is a battlefield, right? So I get there. The club by night, totally different thing. There's just men everywhere. They're standing around the bar. They're leaning against the wall. And the way they look at you, I was uncomfortable. But again, I'm here. I'm here to make some money. I'm here to pay my bills, and Jed told me this would be okay. I look around, and there's girls just sort of like painted mannequins kind of hanging around, decorating the place. I look over at Jackie. Walk around, talk to men, rest feet, go. So I go over to the lounge, and lit disco dance floor, disco ball, a half a dozen tables spread around the dance floor, and then these 3 red pleather couches. So I decide to sit on the couch, and only after I sit do I realize that the lights are like this, and I can't see. All I see are sort of silhouettes of people. I see men sort of leaning together, whispering, tendrils of smoke wafting up from their cigarettes, and I suddenly feel like a slab of meat in a butcher shop window. I'm there for no more than a minute, and this man comes up out of the dark and holds his hand out. We go over to the wall of time cards. We pull out number 42. We take it to Jackie. We clock it in, and off we go to the dance floor. Now, my date never said anything. Not like, hi, how are you? What's your name? Mind if I grope you ceaselessly for the next few minutes? Absolutely nothing. We just start dancing. Now, this isn't homecoming dancing or wedding dancing. This is vertical wrestling. So my date is 5'2", and with heels on, I'm 5'10", which puts his face right here. He buries his face in my cleavage. He reaches around and grabs my ass, and then he sort of like places a leg on either side of mine, like a scissor, and he starts humping me and grinding against my leg like some horrible dog grinding a defenseless stranger. Now, I had seen some shit in my day, but no matter where you've been or what you've done, there is nothing to quite prepare you for that moment. So I'm standing there, and I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I'm looking around at the other girls, and they're just sort of like swaying on their dates, like these pretty painted, vapid dolls, resigned to their fate. And then the music. I swear to God, I cannot make this shit up. This is what they're playing. I'm your private dancer, a dancer for money. Do what you want me to do. Oh my fucking God, thank you, Tina Turner. And as I'm trying to figure all of this out, my date suddenly grabs me and goes, "Ah!" and releases. Oh man, that's just rude. That was a new low even for me. So we walk back to the counter, we punch in my time card, 4 minutes, $1.40, and he hands me $1 tip. Thanks, Mr. Wonderful. Now, the first night was the worst. It didn't stay like that. The first night, they break in all the girls like that. After a couple weeks, I had some regulars, and I started making really good money. And I was a poor kid. So suddenly, I was really proud of, look at all my fancy clothes and my fancy shoes. You know what? Fuck my dad. Fuck love. Fuck Jed. Who needs a stoned taxi driving boyfriend? I'm a clean and sober taxi dancing girl. At least that's what I told myself. But I wasn't sleeping a whole lot. And that dirty money, it just came and went so quickly. And it never really seemed to make it to the bills. I envied those girls with their glassy-eyed courage. They would come in loaded, and I was the only sober girl that worked there. And I saw every lascivious stare. I smelled the stench of heavy breathing. I felt all the fists as they grasped for more flesh. Once in a while, I'd get a nice, lonely guy that just wanted to talk. What's a girl like you doing in a place like this, they'd tell me. And I always had the same answer. I'm going to be a big actress one day, and this is going to be a great story for Letterman. Now, 95% of my customers were Asian. It was cultural norm for them to pay for company. So they were paying me $250 to just go have lunch with them off duty, off hours. So I would go and I would laugh at their jokes and pretend I was interested in whatever they were saying. And to them, I was exotic. I had red hair and green eyes and freckles. I had this one particular customer that was my favorite. His name was Rudy. He was an attorney, and he was Filipino. And he was 4'9", and he had a big black Elvis pompadour. He wore a red satin shirt undone down to his belly button, and he had one curly chest hair. Then he had black polyester bell-bottom pants, black platform shoes, and then he was drizzled in gold nugget jewelry. And I loved Rudy. So I would talk to all my clients, and I would get them to tell me all the horrible jokes they knew. And then Rudy would come in once a week. He would check me out for 45 minutes, and I would tell him these jokes. And he would just go, "Oh, Erika, you're so funny." And he would laugh hysterically at each one. Then he would take me to Jackie. He would buy me 6 hours worth of minutes, which made my paychecks much bigger. And then he would give me $100. I was like, I love this guy, Rudy, right? We'd gone out to lunch or dinner a couple times. He had never done anything but kiss me, give me a little peck on the cheek, a hug goodbye. I was working him perfectly. I had everything figured out. So one day he asked me to pick him up for lunch. We're driving in Santa Monica and Western, and suddenly he says, "Turn left." And I turn left, and we're in the parking lot of a Best Western hotel. Fuck. And I turn to Rudy in my sweetness. "Rudy, what are we doing here?" "It's okay, Erika." He gets out and he goes into the office. And I'm thinking, no, this is okay. This is Rudy. He's okay. He's never done anything bad. Maybe he's just picking something up. He comes back out, he gets in the car, and he says, "Pull over there." Points to a block of rooms. I turn to him and I say, "Rudy, I really care about you, and I'm not ready, and I really want our first time to be special." He gets out of the car and he goes into room 108, and he leaves the door open. Now I know that I should leave. I know that no self-respecting girl could walk into that room. But I'm rooted in my self-loathing, and I'm being rude. So I get out and I go into the room, and the minute I walk in, I regret my choice. There are mirrors all over the walls, all over the ceiling above the bed, and there's Rudy standing there, not saying a word, just unbuttoning his pants and his shirt. He strips down naked, and he goes into the bathroom, and I hear the shower come on. And I'm looking at the pants, and I know in his pant pocket there's at least $10,000 cash. And I know that I can take that cash, and I can go, and I can be somewhere, and I can be someone else, anyone but me. But he's an attorney, and he knows where I live, and what if he has me arrested? And as I'm trying to figure this all out, he comes out of the bathroom just wrapped in a towel. He reaches down into that pant pocket, and he pulls out that wad I had just been fantasizing about, and he counts out $200 bills onto the table. And my rent is due the next day, and I don't have a penny of it. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at me, and he drops his towel. He puts one hand on his hips, and he points with the other one to the floor in front of him. Flip goes the switch. Go ahead and do it, Erika. This is what you're worth. This is what you're good at. You might as well make money at it. Nobody's going to love you anyway. And I dropped to my knees, to the lowest point I'd ever been in my entire life. and I took him in my mouth. Within seconds, he came. He pointed to the bed, and I laid down like a limp rag doll as he tugged my clothes off of me. He suckled my breasts. He pinched my flesh. He climbed on top of me, and I get lost in the picture on the ceiling of the girl with the red hair spread across the pillow and the pale skin and the dead green eyes. And he's bobbing up and down and between her legs, and I suddenly remember being this little girl who just wanted to sing and play and dance and make people laugh. And how the fuck did I get here? How did this become my life? And he comes, and he gets off of me, and he goes into the bathroom. And that switch breaks off, and suddenly I am flooded with all of the shame and all of the bullshit that I've been telling myself for months, for years. This is not okay. None of this is okay. And I search my mind for who is to blame. Is it my missing father? Is it my emotionally vacant mother? Is it all of them? But nobody made me do anything. I did that. And I wasn't loaded doing it. I was stone cold sober, on my back in a Best Western hotel, having a stare down with the corpse of the girl I used to be. I had taken my inner child, shoved her in the closet, and stapled her fucking mouth shut. Rudy came out, got dressed, and left. And I laid there and I started sobbing, the kind of sobbing that I thought was going to shatter me. And I prayed, please, God, let me just disappear. Let me break into a million pieces and just go away. But I knew that I could never shut down like that again. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea where to go. But I knew that I had to get out of that hotel room and that bullshit life that I had created for myself. I had no idea what a life without hating myself looked like. I didn't know if there was anything worth saving in me, but I knew I had to try. Thank you.